Well, the SEC showed us if you throw a fit, sometimes it works out for you.
Get ready for the 3-point stance. 3 different minds, 3 different opinions. 3 dudes talking ball. It's Kenton. It's Jay. It's Zach. Time to bring the heat, boys.
Yes, it's a 3-point stance. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Zach Blackerby, Kitten Gibbs here with you. We'll talk about some of the coaching changes that are happening throughout college football. The Indiana quarterback will miss time. What will that do for their historic season? Alabama lost again. What does that mean in Tuscaloosa? But Kitten, they're tossing stuff onto the field. Mm-hmm. Georgia, Texas, which the refs did get the call wrong. I do think it was the right thing to pick up the flag, but them doing it so long after them throwing all this crap on the field, pitching a fit in some aspects of life, it does work out for you. Does this set a bad precedent moving forward?
Absolutely. I don't think that there's any world in which you can say, hey, this is what needs to happen and this is good and fair and decent. I come from the ACC country, okay? Or not come from, but I played in and I now cover ACC country.
Yeah, sure.
And I can tell you, if people stop the game to throw stuff on the field, every time one of those refs got a call wrong, games would be 5.5 hours long. You understand? I watched with my own 2 eyes a receiver who never quite had possession or made a football move have a ball knocked out and it was called a foul. We have watched Miami have multiple controversial calls in terms of their undefeated season this year. Not to say Miami hasn't deserved it, not to say that any of the calls have been wrong necessarily. I'm not sure about the targeting against Cal. That was the only one where I was like, I think they got away with one there. But either way you cut or slice it, you cannot capitulate to a team, a fan base, or whoever throwing that type of fit. And if anything, I would go further to say, you know what? From now on, if anybody does this, there is no chance at review. We will consider that an entirely new play, even though there's no play on the field happening. If we see a multitude of fans throwing debris on the field, and what is a multitude? I don't know. Hell, make it more than one. Make it. Yeah. You got more than one drunk idiot throwing something on the field because every fan base has that one drunk idiot. More than that one drunk idiot throws something on the field, we'll consider it a new play. No chance for review. We'll move forward from there because that's something that you cannot have at a high level. You cannot reward bad behavior because when you reward bad behavior, does it get better or does it get worse? Zach, you got a kid. You tell. Does rewarding bad behavior get better or worse?
It gets worse.
And that's what it is. You've rewarded UT, and I know that's Jay's favorite team. I remember him on here with the shirt a couple of days ago. I know that's Jay Smith's squad, but I think it's embarrassing.
We got the Texas superfan here with us.
Wow! He heard us talking about his boys and said, y'all ain't really show up. Y'all ain't really talking about us. But in all seriousness, you can't reward bad behavior, man. You can't do it. And what the referees did in that instance is rewarding bad behavior. Even if the review was going to happen anyway, even if they were already reviewing, which I don't believe they were.
It doesn't look like they were.
It's still just a terrible question.
Here's the thing that gets to me, guys, is like the camera zooms in on the refs talking, and you could see fear on their face. I don't think it was just purely about football with this decision.
But it should not at all. It should always be.
Yeah, not at all. You could tell that they had some sort of fear for their lives of getting out of Austin, Texas without being skinned alive. But just as Kitten said, as a longstanding member of the SEC, I don't understand how our referees would even allow this type of stuff to happen, especially at a disgusting place like DKR. You don't let this kind of stuff happen. But in all seriousness, this did set a bad precedent. Now you can just throw stuff. And you're done. I mean, I think the last time I saw some stuff thrown in an SEC game in which I've been a member of forever, when Tennessee played against Ole Miss and people were throwing mustard and mayonnaise at Lane Kiffin. Yeah. Did we get a play chart change? No. We just saw somebody get hit in the head with some mustard. But you don't do that. You can't allow that. Now, I like the fact that the SEC did fine Texas for this one and told them they need to go through and take, facial recognition and start finding those people that was throwing things. Yes, those people need to be not banned for the season. They should be banned for life. I think that if you impede the play of ball, you should never be allowed back in the stadium. If you can't control your liquors, you should be banned from the stadium for life, because it's ridiculous that, look, they weren't even going to challenge it because you can't challenge a pass interference. You can't. You can change it on the spot. Actually, you can't do that either. We've never seen this before. It's absurd, and it has set a very bad precedent going forward.
The amount of time from when the pass interference was called to when it was picked up, I think, is what's so jarring. I mean, we've seen be thrown quick and they pick it up right after.
Right.
Like, we've seen that before, but
I'm a Lions fan. I've seen the time.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Good year for you so far, Kenton. But yeah, I mean, it's just
Congratulations.
the distance of it. And then just the theatrics that Kirby Smart gets to do on the other side of the field. Like, I mean, it was cinema. I mean, you talk about entertainment. It was there. But as soon as it kind of gets done, you think, oh, who's going to be the next team to do this? Because I bet it doesn't take very long.
Are we WWE or are we college football? Are we SEC football? Which one?
I think the SEC has let far too much slide for far too long anyway. I mean, last week you got Kirby Smart pushing the player, and everybody's like, oh, the push wasn't intentional. The guy just kind of walked in his path when he was going to somebody else.
Yeah, that's something where, like, I don't think there should be really a whole lot of, like, gray area. It's like, no, you can't do that.
That's blatant.
That's it. You extend the arms on another player, and this ain't about Kirby Smart and that right now. I'm talking about in general.
I get it.
There has been a path. There's been a long, winding road of, we'll excuse it. No big deal. We could talk it away. You cannot talk this one away. As a great Texan herself, Solange Knowles once said, you try to drink it away, it won't make it any better. You try to run it away, it won't make it any better. You try to sex it away, we ain't got to talk about that here. But either way, it won't make it any better in terms of if you keep letting this bad behavior slide. There's too much bad behavior going on out of important actors in the SEC. And don't tell me Texas fans aren't important actors in the SEC, because at the end of the day, Texas has one of the biggest fan bases there is. So if you're talking about, hey, what do we need to do to not only improve the product on the field, but again, set good precedents, good situations, you can't have this.
Yeah, and Jay, I'll let you respond to this point. But to me, I think this is worse because it was Texas that threw the fit and got it. And I'm sure you, as an Oklahoma guy, say, well, of course it was. Of course it was Texas to get to set this precedent.
It's a tradition as old as the game itself. Texas starts barking about something and boom, somehow it magically get changed. They get their own network. They get all of this other stuff. They get the extra special
was
treatment.
Made illegal. The horns down was made a personal foul or misconduct?
Honestly. Good
dude. Man, I swear they were trying their hardest to just get every single Georgia defender out of the game with targeting. It's ridiculous. Like, I understand whenever they're trying to really, like, put their head in somebody's chest, but both times, not only did the offensive player drop their head to where the player was trying to go for a low tackle and couldn't go super low, but the other one was he was going to the side of the dude. Like, he was doing a textbook tackle. He did drop his head, but it wasn't aimed at the body. It was aimed at the side, and you saw him wrapping up. It was the officiating has been atrocious. And to be honest, it's not even just in college football. It's been bad in just about every sport that exists, all the way down to youth league. It's more so a lot of these refs feel like they're just completely afraid to make the right call in a fear of backlash, while at the same time, they're afraid that if there's a human error there, everybody's going to attack them. And I get them in that capacity because with all of this video footage that we have that we're using, the replays and stuff, the human error that used to exist in football does not exist anymore. You need to be perfect. You got to be more than perfect. You got to be 110% right on everything you do. It sucks for them because their job is a lot harder, while at the same time, screw them. If it's a human error, it's a human error. But man, you cannot change a call like that and then you can't keep calling targeting like that, try to get players off the field, and you can't change a call like that at pass interference when you know that you've never done that before.
I'm going to say this because I know we got to get the break. And I want to make one thing clear right now. I was a defensive player. I played defensive line. That was my pride and joy, getting after quarterbacks. I still hate them to this day. I agree with you on most of that, Jay. However, the targeting rule was written so ambiguous. It was written in a manner that leaves so much gray space that I have often argued Offensive players, when they lower their heads, should have some type of penalty, some type of recourse for that. But as the rule is written right now, targeting is targeting. And I think it's a terrible call. It's written terribly. It violates the spirit of the game. But as the rule is written, it is targeting. It is targeting as far as I see it. As most of the calls I've seen, they fit the criteria. The criteria is just too damn wide.
It's true.
Alabama loses again. What's going on in Tuscaloosa? We jump into that next, right here on the 3-point stance.
ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel better tomorrow. Here's how it works. Step 1, drink prebiotic. For best results, make prebiotic your first drink of the night. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself. Hydrate and get a good night's sleep. Step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off.
Thank you so much for making the 3-point stance your first listen every single day. For your second listen, go check out our buddy Spencer McLaughlin, host of Locked On College Football, on the same YouTube channel or podcast feed. Alabama picks up their second loss of the season, and the panic seems to be a little stronger coming from Tuscaloosa this weekend than it did when they picked up that first one. People are screaming out words like culture, call Nick Saban back. To me, like this feels different. I thought Alabama would be better this year than they have been.
Well, in the words of Jay-Z, people really saying they made Hov say, okay, so make another Hov. You can't make another Saban. And I think that's the biggest problem here in terms of what people are expecting. This Alabama team looks much more like a normal college football team or a normal, really good football team. Let me not put them in the category of pedestrian. They're a good team, but they look much more like a normal good team than this dominant force that there was I want to say 5-year stretch or so where beating Bama was an act of God. Johnny Football had to do things that was like, oh my God. Mike Evans showed us, hey, I'm going to be in the league for like 30 years, getting 1,000-yard seasons in every one of them in college by beating Bama. So if you're talking about what does the culture compare to Nick Saban, I knew as soon as I saw Willie Bama or Bama Willie in practice, I knew, this ain't Saban's boys no more. This ain't what we thought it was. But that's part and parcel of getting a new coach. He is going to put in a new way of doing things. The only question is, time will tell how all of this really works out for him, because it's year one in a new system, new scheme, new way of doing things, all that. What will he do when he has his guys, when he gets to recruit for his scheme, when he gets to recruit for how he wants to do things? Can he win those battles on the couch, and can he win those battles on Saturdays when it's fully his show 100%? And I'm not sure if he'll produce at a Saban level, because who the hell else can produce at a Saban level but Saban?
Right.
Well, that and Bear Bryant. I mean, the thing about it is that Bama was blessed with two of the greatest coaches to ever play in the game, who won a substantial amount of games in a very short period of time. Well, championships in a short period of time. So it's very hard to live to that, but it takes that level of coach to be able to have that level of success. And Kalen DeBoer right now has not shown us yet, but I'm not sure why people expected the train to just keep going on the same exact track. It takes time. Ken, you are 100% correct. This guy is not playing with any of his players for the most part. He's had a couple of Washington transfers, but they're all testing this out for the first year. This is the first year of the test drive with this coach, and I think DeBoer is a good coach. It takes time. I'm sorry to say, Jalen Milroe ain't that dude that this is not Tua Tagovailoa who's going to be able to do everything perfectly. Milroe has a great skill set. He has capabilities, but I said this before the season started. I had Bama fans yelling at me when I said this. Look, Milroe's going to have to come back next year. Then he's going to be good. Same thing happened with Michael Penix. Alabama most likely is going to finish the year probably 3 losses, but 10 wins. It's going to probably happen. They'll probably make the playoffs. But guess what? You bring back Milroe next year, same system, same dudes, and you get everybody going, they're probably going to be almost undefeated, if not a win-loss team.
Hold on. So you're watching this Alabama team, and you're looking at Milroe, and you're saying, that's what they're missing. They're missing quarterback production because
no, not production. Decisions. They're missing decisions by their quarterback. Because I've seen, think Milroe's you know who's frustrated? You know who's frustrated on these interwebs? Everybody's favorite positions full of divas, the wide receivers. All you're seeing is tweets fired off from family members and players that are wide receivers because they're open and they're not receiving the ball their direction. Milroe is still learning the system, just like Penix was when he was at Washington. I promise you, next season, Milroe under DeBoer, they'll look a lot better. Because I still ask the question, who's behind him? Because they ain't got Julian saying no more. He ain't walking through that door. He's at Ohio State. They're going to have to figure this out, but in time. The defense is also struggling, but at the same time, whole new system, whole new stuff. This isn't the same discipline and attention to detail that Nick Saban had yet. It's going to take him time to really get them ingrained into what they want to do. They're still 5-2. They're not an awful team. They just got to get better.
I'm sorry, but I don't see how that's your take at all. I don't understand what evidence is telling you that. This is Bama we're talking about. And when you think about Bama, even with the explosive offense, even with Devontae Smith winning a Heisman, even with all that, you always knew Bama was going to run the damn ball. Okay?
I mean, it's fair.
Out of their backs in this game, we got 20 rushes for 64 yards. Brother, what? Brother, what? That's what people mean by culture, because there was a culture at Bama, RTDB. We going to run that damn ball. It don't matter how you cut it, how you slice it. And not only are we going to run the ball well, we're going to get you so confused. We're going to get you so worried about, they got them big old boys back there. They got some massive offensive linemen. They got everybody at Bama was big. Derrick Henry was in the same backfield as Mark Ingram, for Christ's sake. That's how big those guys were. You got one guy with the thunder thighs and the other one that's just thunder, period. Derrick Henry is the essence of thunder. That's who the man is. And now you're looking at a situation where you got 30 carries for 60 yards. What? Don't get me wrong. Shout out to Tennessee. Hell of a defensive line. Got to give credit to Tennessee, because I've talked ad nauseum about their defensive line this year. I've talked about the fact they can come in waves. They do line shifts like in hockey, and every line they bring in can bring the boom. But with that being said, you're looking at a situation where this is not the first time that Bama has struggled mightily to run the ball. So you're asking yourself, is this Tennessee being great, or is this a consistent among Bama? Well, all of those games where Bama struggled to run the ball, James Pierce wasn't walking out that tunnel. You just didn't see it. So,
well, if in contrary to that, 2 years ago when Alabama lost to Tennessee as well, it was a shootout 52-49, and Alabama ran the ball 31 times for 114 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs was the running back at the time, but they weren't running it as successful as they needed to be in order to beat Tennessee. That's my point. And Nick Saban was the head coach of that team. My point is that defense still showed up, caused problems, but they were not controlling the ball like they needed to. And it was mainly because Milroe was making the wrong decisions.
Jay, if you got with a woman that was perfect, the woman is beautiful, right? She's everything that you wanted to be plus some, right? And every time she was with her ex, it was rarely ever flowers there. Never no flowers. There wasn't no flowers, wasn't no cute dates, wasn't no none of that. And then you go 2 weeks without getting her flowers once, and she called you a bad guy. Is that fair? Is that reasonable? Because guess what? For the most part, Nick Saban and RTDB was the case. That was the case. Trust me, we have an Auburn guy on here. He can tell you running the ball normally wasn't a problem for Bama. It normally was like, hey, they go get theirs on the ground. What you got to do is if you can stack the box and make them beat you through the air, you've got a shot. You've got a shot at this thing. And I'm saying what we're seeing out of DeBoer so far in 1 year, we've never seen this many games where Bama struggled to run the ball in 1 year. We've never seen this in recent history.
I mean, I can say that 2022 was probably a similar year when it came to that, when Bama was struggling. I think that now teams are starting to build their teams in preparation to play Bama. It just feels like that. Everybody at SEC starting to build themselves for it. Now, Saban always found ways to win, but he did lose a couple of games where against LSU, he did not get 100 yards rushing the game. It's starting to happen. It's just teams are starting to build themselves in preparation.
I understand, but again, we're looking at multiple times in 1 year where we're not. Milroe's not perfect. I want to make that clear. I don't want anybody coming on this spot or coming in our comments saying that kid believes in Milroe a ton. Milroe does have development and growth to do. I do think next year in DeBoer's system he'll be better. I absolutely agree with you there. But the reality is, when I look at all the problems that Bama is currently facing, I do not look at Milroe as one of the main ones.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
Their inability to get off the field on third downs.
Something else.
I look at their inability to run the ball at a consistent, effective rate, and I look at their inability to, even beyond Milroe, just chop wood and carry water. Just, hey, our offense is going to be one that just, we're relentless. We're water. We may not get the big play every time, but we'll give you 5, 6, 7 every time. Every play almost feels like boom or bust for them, and that's not a sustainable offense.
Their next 2 games against ranked Missouri, and then they go to number 8 LSU. Just quickly, Ken, what is their record? 2-0, 1-1, 0-2.
1-1 at best.
Jay?
I'm in the same boat. I think the LSU game is going to be a struggle because I don't know what it is. That voodoo in Louisiana has created a monster.
Yeah.
Or it's creating
I'm
one.
there with you. Yeah, I'm there with you. Yeah, I think 1-1 down that stretch. All right, we've got some news throughout college football. What does that mean for the rest of the Big Ten? What does it mean for other coaching staffs? That's coming up right here on the 3-Point Stance. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets for, doesn't matter what kind of sporting event it is, football, basketball, baseball. It could be a concert. It could be the theater, whatever it takes. Or whenever you go to an event that requires a ticket, Game Time has you covered. They've got Game Time Picks is one of their features. It's a curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. You also can turn on all-in pricing. I love this feature. You can toggle the feature on to show the total up front so you're not surprised by any sort of fees at checkout. I love that. I mean, how many times do you go to buy tickets for $40 and you get to checkout and it's like, why is this $75 all of a sudden? Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off. What time is it? It's game time. So Indiana is in the midst of this incredible run. And their quarterback, we talked about him Friday, Curtis Rourke. He was a top 25 player, according to ESPN, going into this weekend based off of what he's done so far this year. His thumb, he's ruled out indefinitely. What does this mean for Indiana? And what does it mean for the rest of the Big Ten?
Let me take this one first real quick. So we're going to talk about this in a bit as well as offensive coordinators have, most recently decided to make the change in transitions.
Right.
And one of the names I've been hearing the most about was Mike Shanahan Jr.? Is that his name? The offensive coordinator at Indiana. It's all I've been hearing about. That's the only name that's been thrown at me nonstop because of how great Indiana's offense is. Well, now we get to find out. Without that starting quarterback, we're going to see if Indiana's got it, because I pointed this out to people, and I try not to throw too much shade here, while at the same time I like to keep things realistic. Indiana has played FIU, Western Illinois, a depleted UCLA because their head coach left and went to Ohio State, Charlotte, Maryland, who we don't think is very good, Northwestern, and Nebraska, who it's young quarterback, but they're rising. Who do they have next? Washington. They're traveling to Michigan State, even though Michigan State's not that great. East Lansing's a tough place to play. Michigan, Ohio State. They've got 4 tough games in front of them, and they don't have their starting quarterback. So if Indiana's offense is as great as we have been preaching about, we're about to truly find out. If the backup quarterback can go in there and at least be decent and help them to continue to win, I'm going to be like, hey, get Shanahan a head coaching job somewhere because he deserves it. But if they struggle in which I think they might, because Washington is no punk. Maybe pump the brakes on just how great Indiana really is.
Somebody get a thermostat. Let's do some drug testing on Locked On, because I don't know what Jay is on today. I don't know what Jay is on. He's on that ayahuasca trip with Aaron Rodgers or something. He got to be in the dark room with Aaron Rodgers, because I don't understand where you are coming from, brother. Not only is the level of competition they're playing ramping up, objectively, compared to the start of the year, it's ramping up. But even beyond that, you're looking at a situation where you're going at these things without your starter. We can all say next man up till we're blue in the face. There's a reason that you wasn't the first man up, that you weren't the first man up. There's a reason.
Twos and threes for a reason. I agree.
Exactly. Rourke is the guy there. I don't know too many offenses that lose the guy and go at the same level. Do you think Andy Reid is a good offensive mind, Jay?
Some days of the week.
Some days of the week. I think 7 days of the week and twice on Sunday.
Kidding. I love Andy Reid.
Known as one of the greatest. He will go down as one of the greatest offensive minds of all time. If Chad Henne was asked to be their starting quarterback, right, and he was their backup for many, many years, if he was asked, hey, step in and replace Pat Mahomes, do you think that offense would produce at the same level over a decent stretch of time? Absolutely not. Then that has nothing to do with an indictment on the offensive coordinator. What I will say is their quarterback missing time is this. What it means is this. At least they're going to have cover if things don't go right over the next few games. But more importantly, I don't even think they need cover, because when the hell have we ever talked about IU football nationally?
Fair point.
I love my K, my A, and my Psi, but when I think of that IU logo, I ain't never thought about no football. I think about Hoosiers basketball, and again, Fanu Pop. You know what I mean? That's all I have to thought of when I see that logo. That's it. That's it. So with that in mind, I'm sitting here saying to myself, Indiana is relevant again. This is a snake-bitten moment for them, but I'll be damned if Sid can't say, you see where I got this team, right? Whole nation talking about us. All eyes on the IU, which is something we do. Game day is coming to Bloomington, Indiana for the how many time ever? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess how many times they've been there? First. Wow. So put some respect on Signetti's name. Put some respect on the offensive coordinator. I don't give a damn if they put up 12 points over the next 4 games. I don't care. They have shown up and shown out so far this season and exceeded every expectation that anybody could have put on.
Yeah. All right. So we're also starting to see offensive coordinators get let go throughout college football. The Sooners fired Seth Littrell, and then Utah parted ways with Andy Ludwig. Jay, we'll start with Oklahoma. I can't say this is a major shock. It's always something to kind of be the first major program to do something like this, but give us the Oklahoma point of view on this.
This is a very defining moment for Brent Venables. He's had to make 2 very big choices at coach over the last couple of years. This past season, he let go his longtime friend, Ted Roof, and brought in young, spry coach Zach Alley to run his defense. We've seen a big improvement in the defense in comparison to what we've seen over the first 2 years, actually the last 8 years, right? Even with the old regime, we're seeing improvements, in which that's a big deal. He tried something with the new offensive coordinator. It didn't work out. I hate it when guys get fired mid-season, but I understand. He was dealt a very bad deck of cards. You lose 5 wide receivers to injury, and you shuffle through not running backs, but you shuffle through offensive linemen like crazy, like you change your draws every day. It's brutal that you had to deal with a lot of that, while at the same time, even if you're dealt a bad hand of cards, you can't play them terribly. It felt like there was no creativity in the scheme. It felt like there was a lot of repetitiveness that was easily sniffed out. It was like everyone could figure out what was happening. So I understood the move. It felt like there just needed to be a change. Now, the national search is going to have to start, and they're going to have to actually make a decision, because if you really want somebody worth a damn, you're not going to get them to January, because most of them are all going to be working. Luckily, Oklahoma does have the money to get someone, but you're not going to be able to find anybody until probably after at least the second round of the playoffs.
I think that the most interesting thing about this is these short leashes that coaches are being given, but I mean, rightfully so in some regards. And the game is catered to offense in a way that if you can at least be decent, if you can't give me middle of the road, again, it's a lot like how I feel about targeting. There are a ton of rules in the game that are enforced in ways that help out offenses. If you can't score no damn points, that's on you, player. And both of these coaches were dealt back. Cam Rising's 35-year-old self, although he got approved for, I want to say, what is it, a fifth decade in college football, even playing college football since the helmets were soft. He got approved for another year. And
Illinois was wearing them.
Yeah, Illinois was wearing them. And yet, what did we see out of Utah? He was hurt earlier in the year. And they struggled because he was hurt. And y'all know, I'm going to say, hey, the main guy's the main guy for a reason. Everybody is going through something. At the end of the day, my family has a saying, the man is always producing something. You either make a way or you make excuses. It does not matter the situation. You have to come out and produce something. And I'm going to say something here. There's a bigger indictment of this thing, and it's not a Kyle Whitney. Your boy, I'm sorry, wrong finger. Your boy, Jay, your boy, Brent Venables, is the Bud Foster of the 2020s. He's the Bud Foster of the late 2010s, 2020s. He should have never became a head coach. He should have kept dialing up some of the best defenses we've ever seen and been good with that. But now we're going to sit up here and pretend as if, oh, man, you're going to be a great coach in some way, somehow. Listen, it just doesn't work like that. It does, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he will figure it out, circle the wagons, and get everything going. But it seems to me as though he's a bit above his head or he's a bit underwater in terms of the ability to win games and do more and elevate a program like in Oklahoma. Because that is one of the few programs, I talk about it all the time, 12 programs winning 8 games a year ain't enough. Oklahoma's one of them. And so
I
when
agree.
you go to that one, you can't go in, oh, well, I coach up good defenses, darn it, don't matter.
Yeah. Jay, quickly, we're about out of time.
Yeah. Real quick, I had to disagree on him not being a good head coach. Got to give it time. I mean, he won 10 games last year, so I think that actually means something there. But the bigger thing is for him, as a head coach, you got to make tough decisions. He's making the tough decisions that most coaches won't even do. Like he fired someone mid-season, in which everywhere he's been, he's never been involved in that. So I have no problem with giving him the 5 years. He deserves it. He got 10 wins in a season on a team that was depleted, that had like an 80% turnover ratio. I'll give him his time. I don't know if he's a great coach yet, head coach, but for the most part, we've seen improvement on defense, something that Oklahoma hasn't seen in a long time.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for making the 3 Point Stance your first listen every single day. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We drop new shows every single day at 2:00 Central Time. For Jay Smith and Ken Gibbs, I'm Zach Blackerby. This has been the 3 Point Stance.